back after a year, and I want to continue this channel. I think it's good for me, and perhaps it's good for someone else listening too. I'm definitely in a different headspace at the moment and may read these verses with a different lens from what I was just reading it, if you were listening back to back. But I'm going to just go ahead and read it regardless and see what happens. So, chapter 10. And again, I honestly don't even know what the context is right now of what's going on in the story. So we're just going to figure it out as we go. And it came to pass that we again began to establish the kingdom, and we again began to possess the land in peace. And I caused that there should be weapons of war made of every kind, that thereby I might have weapons for my people against the time of the Lamanites should come up again to war against my people. Okay, so sounds like a person or a group of people are establishing dominance in land and getting prepared for any potential opposition. And I set guards round about the land, that the Lamanites might not come upon us again unawares and destroy us. And thus I did guard my people from my flocks, and keep them from falling into the hands of our enemies. And it came to pass that we did inherit the land of our fathers for many years, yea, for the space of 22 years. Okay. So this group of people is protecting this land for, they inherited this land as well, and they had this land for 22 years. Verse 4, and I did cause that the men should till the ground, and raise all manner of grain, and all manner of fruit of every kind. And I did cause that the women should spin, and toil, and work, all manner of fine linen, yea, and cloth of every kind, that we might clothe our nakedness, and thus we did prosper in the land. Thus we did have continual peace in the land for the space of 22 years. Interesting that they make mention of women spinning and toiling and working in the fine linen. I wonder if that was just their proclivities at the time, or if that is part of a nature kind of a thing. I wonder what all of the societal and cultural expectations contributed to those roles, because we do see similar temperaments now. For example, there's a lot more female nurses in the world than there are male nurses, and there's a lot more, male railroad workers than there are female railroad workers. And what's interesting is, even when the governmental incentives are in place to, I guess, artificially make these roles equal, if those governmental structures are excluded, in the case of, I think, Finland or Norway are one of those, the gap actually increases, and there's even less male nurses and even less female railroad workers than there are when there's more freedom given, which is interesting. So it kind of just, if anything, it proves that there is a gender temperamental change. Interesting that it ties back all the way to this part of the story in the Book of Mormon. In Mosiah 10, so take what you will from that. And it came to pass that the king Laman died, and his son began to reign in his stead. And he began to stir his people up in rebellion against my people. Therefore they began to prepare for war, and to come up to battle against my people. But I had sent my spies out round about the land of Shemlon, that I might discover their preparations, that I might guard against them, that they might not come upon my people and destroy them. Okay, so it seems like the king died, and the son can't, inherited the throne and kind of began to stir things up and began to start a war. So that's not great. So it looks like there's an internal struggle going on here. Verse 8. And it came to pass that they came up upon the north of the land of Shalom, with their numerous hosts, men armed with bows and with arrows and with swords, and with scimitars and with stones and with slings. And they had their heads shaved, that they were naked, and they were girded with a leathern girdle about their loins. Interesting. And it came to pass that I caused that the women and children of my people should be hid in the wilderness. And I also caused that all my old men that could bear arms, and also all my young men that were able to bear arms, should gather themselves together to go to battle against the Lamanites. And I did place them in their ranks, every man according to his age. Okay, so it looks like there's just a war beginning. And it came to pass that we did go up to battle against the Lamanites. And even I, in my old age, did go up to battle against the Lamanites. And it came to pass that we did go up in the strength of the Lord to battle. Interesting, I wonder when he's writing this. Probably at the very end of his life, and he's like recounting his recent war that he just had, because he's saying he's of an old age at the time of the battle, and he's also writing this down, so it can't be that far apart. Now the Lamanites knew nothing concerning the Lord, nor the strength of the Lord. Therefore they depended upon their own strength. Yet they were a strong people as to the strength of men. They were a wild and ferocious and a bloodthirsty people, believing in the tradition of their fathers, which is this: believing that they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem because of the iniquities of their fathers, and that they were wronged in the wilderness by their brethren, and they were also wronged while crossing the sea. Wow, so does that really tie back to like the original Laman and Lemuel? That's crazy. And again, that they were wronged while in the land of their first inheritance, after they had crossed the sea, and all this because that Nephi was more faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Therefore he was favored of the Lord, for the Lord heard his prayers and answered them, and he took the lead of their journey in the wilderness. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. I wonder who's writing this down, Is there a recounting of history, non-biased, or is it... I wonder if Laman and Lemuel, if they were writing this down, would they have something else to say, I wonder. And his brethren were wroth with him, because they understood not the dealings of the Lord. They were also wroth with him upon the waters, because they hardened their hearts against the Lord. Okay, so I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anyone that's going to comment, but I wonder if this is just a second recounting of the initial story of Lehi and his family. And I guess maybe that's pretty much where the, genealogical war is beginning. People are siding with Nephi and people are siding with Laman. According to the historical account. So it kind of goes to show it's really important to make sure your history is accurate. And maybe if it was accurate and everyone could agree on it, we wouldn't have these disputes that could break out and escalate into wars. Verse 15. they sought to kill him. And again they were wroth with him because he had departed into the wilderness as the Lord had commanded him, and took the records which were engraven on the plates of brass. For they said that he robbed them. Interesting. They said that he robbed them. Interesting. And thus they have taught their children that they should hate them, and that they should murder them, and that they should rob and plunder them, and do all they could to destroy them. Therefore they have an eternal hatred towards the children of Nephi. I wonder where that ideology of hatred comes from. I don't know if anyone who is logical or reasonable would think the best way to, achieve, altruism or whatever, achieve this idealistic lifestyle is to eradicate the opposition. I'm not quite sure if that is really the best way, but maybe this is preceding some of the higher law teachings of charity and love and love your neighbor. This is prior to the time of Christ, if I remember correctly. And so maybe that is the most reasonable take at the time, is to just get rid of the people that you disagree with. Obviously that sounds pretty crazy to our modern understanding of how to resolve conflict, because we know we need to coexist with people who think differently from us, and it would be pretty extreme to just eradicate them, but it seems to be the case here. So, but I think that's probably just the nature of progression in life, and the Lord is well aware of our slow to understand things. Throughout the generations, He's revealing more and more to us about how to treat other people and to work with other people. When He gave the law of Moses, it was very one-dimensional and easy to understand, and it wasn't quite the rough stone rolling yet. It was just like a cube that was just shaving off the corners, just trying to become a ball shape, but it wasn't refining down. Some of these laws were don't kill each other. Don't worship false idols and come up with these other things to replace God. Some of these things were pretty, simple to understand for those time. And again, there's nuance with some of these things, right? Don't kill each other unless you're Nephi and you need to get the golden plates from Laban. There's exceptions to these things, but I don't think those people were ready to hear the exceptions, or ready for the higher law principle that is a governing principle, that helps us with a large set of potential certain situations. But this is just a rule to follow that would generally help most of the time. So the Lord, I think, reveals these things, line by line, precept by precept. But when I say line by line, it's at a macro level, The first line is the law of Moses line, and then the higher law line, and maybe these modern prophets that we have in the Quorum of the 12, where we have other lines that are being revealed to us that help us with our own modern understanding of things. Anyway, that's a long tangent of some things that I'm thinking about at the moment, but yeah, it's just interesting at this time, this historical account, they're very much not in the mind space of conflict resolution and having a dialogue, but let's just kill the other people. Verse 18, for the this very cause has King Laman, by his cunning and lying craftiness, and his fair promises, deceived me, that I have brought this my people up into this land, that we may destroy them. Yea, and we have suffered these many years in the land. And now I, Zenith, after having told all these things unto my people concerning the Lamanites, I did stimulate them to go to battle with their might, putting their trust in the Lord. Therefore we did contend with them face to face. And it came to pass that we did drive them out again out of their land, and we slew them with a great slaughter, even so many that we did not number them. Interesting, man. It's interesting having like these two sides of the war, and both of them are, killing each other. And it seems to be written from the side of the victories, the side of the victors. And they are seemingly like on God's team, but still they are, killing these people. And maybe it's all in the name of justice, and God is the perfect judge, and he's gonna, judge all of those people who are slain in battle fairly. According to his nature, that's what we can be. It's reasonable to believe that that's the case, But it is interesting, like, hearing the side of the victors being like, yeah, we slew them without number. And it's like, all thanks to God, It's like, wow, God is just like commanding the murder of these people. Or at least okay with it, Maybe not in this case, but certainly in the Old Testament. So, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here. 2 more verses. 21, and it came to pass that we returned again to our own land, and my people began to tend their flocks and to till their ground. And now I, being old, did confer the kingdom upon one of my sons. Therefore I say no more, and may the Lord bless my people. Amen. Cool, so that was Zenith, it sounds like. He was the one writing. And the next verse talks about how he confers the kingdom upon Noah, one of his sons. And there's probably more to that story, but yeah. Zenith, okay. Interesting chapter. Again, I do wonder about these historical accounts, and who's writing them and who's ultimately, can we trust that they're not biased? Probably not, but can we trust that they're, I guess, of God and, going to help us in some divine way? I think so. Even if the content is, abhorrent, if it's true, then it still reveals something about the restoration and the translation of these texts from Joseph Smith in 1820. So that's another thing to consider, but that's all for now. Lots of things on my mind. Lots to learn from the Book of Mormon, good and bad and neutral. And I hope you can come along with the journey as I make sense of this world and make sense of my faith.